want to talk about some vivid dreams that I had last night. Um, One was about, well, my dog, my Maltese Willow, who recently died, due to conditions he had. He was an old dog, right? I've talked about him, so I dreamt that he came back for one day, a day after he was put to sleep, and he and I are at the vet. And like, I say to the vet, how is this possible? And they're like, I don't know, I'm not sure. Even so, I mean, he was brought back for one day, but he was still in critical condition, and so we just had him put back to sleep. And interesting. I have vivid dreams every now and then that of those like who passed, and every now and then I do sort of look at it in a way where they're visiting me, or I do like to look at it and think of it that way, right? So there's nothing wrong with that, or wanting to believe that. And anything that anybody out there is into, if you're into something, great, and if you're not, that's fine too. I mean, we're all entitled. And there's no reason or law saying that you have to follow tradition that you were raised with, unless if you don't mind that tradition. I necessarily don't. But one of the things that I think that feels good to me, that every now and then, I have a vivid dream that way, that someone who even has been passed for a while comes to visit me. So anyway, another dream I wanted to mention, I'm part of the adult autism organization called Ascend. And it was interesting. We were at an event. It was like a conference that we usually would have every 2 or 3 years at a place that we're able to rent for, and that's affordable. Even when it's not affordable, it's still something we want to do to help bring our community together and meet others, etc. And there's workshops, there's presentation, there's speakers that are at these conferences. So I don't know when our next Ascend's next conference would be, but I think it's still in the works, I suppose. But anyway, it seemed like in my dream we were at this camp, and it was planned. It was and each one of us seemed to have a cabin to ourselves, at least 1 or 2 or 3 groups in a cabin, individuals, I mean. So we were having this conference or this event that may have been Ascend related, or maybe it was other things as well. I show up to the event realizing, or I show up in this changing room or private place that I realized I don't have my outfit on me. I was going to wear. Not that there was a dress code, and not that you had to be formal or anything, but in this dream in particular, I don't know, I feel maybe it was significantly formal, I guess, because it had to be, in the dream, that is. And so I realized my cabin is 1 or 2 miles fucking away, and I'm like, I don't have time to go back and get it. I don't even time to have someone drive me to get it. And so I just go to the conference the way I am. And I'm feeling awkward. I am. And so I, mingle a little bit. And again, this is just a dream. Somehow there's this individual that, I meet. And somehow I bring up something about buying a house or something, or affordable housing and stuff like that. And I wasn't necessarily bringing it up. It wasn't me that was going to buy a house. Somehow it was just a general statement about, house buying, and then this individual, pulls up this link on her phone and shows it to me, like puts it right in front of me, say, look, that you would not be able to afford. Houses are so expensive. And then, or that's how I heard it in the dream. I believe in the dream, maybe to, I don't know, rewind a bit, that she brought up a link, I guess, just for everyone to see, or just a small group of us would see, because not just because I brought it up, right? But she says, yeah, houses are expensive, nobody can buy them, or it was just a general statement she was making too. Somehow though, I took it wrong, and I'm like, I didn't say I was going to buy a house. And what makes you think that I can't afford that? Just because I may not look like someone who has a lot of money, but who's to say that I can't do that? And she was like, I didn't mean it that way. No, it sort of, somehow it became such a conflict, and she got very curtain with me too. I feel I generally would not get curtain with anyone that much unless they gave me a reason to, or if there's information I'm taking in, or this the tone of their voice that I found very hard to process. And so generally, yeah, I would be curtained back, or I would very much talk back to them, but it also depends on the conversation. Like, say somebody, I don't know, they're not necessarily arguing or at you or something, but it just but that's the thing, confrontation and conflicts actually are it can be a problem. It could be hard to process, being on the spectrum, and I'm speaking for me. I am, but and I that goes for real life. It does, but I'd say I've managed to read cues a little better these days. That shoot, I'll be right back. Like, for example, when someone makes a conversation like, oh, no, you do not want to do that. No, oh, you just don't go there. Oh, that is not cool. They're not exactly targeting you. They're just speaking something in general. And even if they are talking about you, maybe that's just how I would just say, I observe and take in conversation like that, and in my mind I'm just thinking, it started from like, going, what the hell are you talking about? I don't do that, to okay, I'll keep that in mind, to 3, meaning the progression I'm meaning for me gets better. Then I would say in my mind, okay, well, I won't take that. I think this person's a little bit too much for me, but I will consider that. So, like, in my mind I'm saying it, and then I simply just say, well, nice talking to you, then just walk away somewhere else. I suppose this talk of vivid dreams somehow is a reflection of the reality of dealing with confrontation, and avoidance of certain subjects and certain people that maybe you don't want to get too heavily involved in, and that's okay to draw your limits, and as I said before, setting boundaries. I would say in the dream, to finish up with it, like, I left before I was even told to leave. I'm like, everyone was seeing me just have a meltdown, or all at the same time, a shutdown. I'm thinking, okay, I'm on the verge of letting this person have it, because they're not leaving me alone. They're trying to be stern on me on something that they don't need to be. That, as a person, it isn't their place to scold me or or reprehend me, and you know, I just feel that's too. But then again, you know, I guess I'm not the type on the spectrum where I'm very bossy and very straightforward. You know, it depends, really. To me, the feeling of it, getting it from somebody else, is just like, it used to be that I would just walk out, walk away. I would maybe do a little shouting and then leave before I was even asked to. I mean, there was a time when I was a kid that there was a security guard at this pool that, you know, I won't get into too much detail, maybe, you know, some other time, but, you know, this kid was like splashing water at me, he was just playing, but I didn't like it. It's like, why is he doing that to me and to no one else? And there was a baby in the pool that my sister, one of my sisters was holding, and it's just like, why does this shit happen to me? And why, I mean, I'm being told to behave myself, and I'm like, don't tell me to behave myself, you know, that kind of thing. And so, anyway, I'll talk more of that some other time. Or maybe not, just so you get the picture. But yeah, the reality of for being on the spectrum and dealing with confrontation, and just possibly the best thing you could do is just, once you have enough life experience of the type of people, you know, who are human too, right? But they're just not the type you would really converse with, or you don't have interest in, you know, having a serious friendship with, then, you know, it's okay to avoid that. That's all you can really do. Sometimes avoidance at some angles, like, you know, with OCD and exposure responsive therapy, that usually teaches you to, you know, expose yourself to the compulsion or intrusiveness or whatever it is that's cramping you, and kind of sit with it. And, you know, it's nothing you end up liking or anything. You just be it'll be a lot less bothersome. Somehow, though, I think in times it's okay to avoid things. You don't have to do things you don't want. You don't have to, you know, talk to anyone you feel that might be, I don't know, not necessarily a danger. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that too, but someone who might be just too much for you. And you don't think, I don't necessarily think badly of them or anything. It's just, it's just the type of conversations I just don't want to get into, and that's okay. So I think avoidance in that way is fine. Is it gonna, every now and then, is it gonna stir up? Yeah, it will. But at least you'll know your limits. At least you'll know what you can tolerate. And so sometimes I feel like, even with groups and organizations that I've been very associated with and close to for a long time, I mean, it's a cute clock. Anyways, I every now and then I'm like, even with an organization who gets me and those who get me, that if they were to see me somehow experience some kind of thing like a meltdown or anything close to a meltdown, I would say they would be understanding. I mean, I'm as understanding as the next person, right? And, you know, it's okay if you don't get everything about somebody. Well, I mean, not to say that, you know, it's okay to accept ignorance, like, or so, because who was it that, oh, it was some guy named Peter, here, let me go back. Peter Vermeulen. Let me repeat that. Peter Vermeulen. Feel free to correct me on that if you want, but still. He has a quote, autism cannot be cured, but ignorance can be. And I stand by that, because I just feel even now, even today, with all the resources out, ignorance still flies. It still swims in the same pool that honestly, it's so sticky to me. I can't stand it. That, but I also, I don't want to be too hard on those who are ignorant about autism or anything that, because not everybody is, and let's face it, I've feigned ignorance on some things. I mean, we don't know better until we do. If it's, I say, if it's something someone's interested in getting to know more about, then great, but then otherwise I can't make people understand. I can't make, hopefully, maybe, eventually some will. But yeah, anyways, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would say I wouldn't have a group like Ascend. I would not have to worry about if I had some kind of, not that I'm expecting or predicting one anytime soon, but just like they saw me in a frazzle or ever or whatever, whoever. Just, I mean, they're used to that. They we see that all the time. Maybe not every day, but it's been seen. It has been. So, but it's interesting how when an event happens in life that you didn't think would ever happen, and that's the never versus always, or always versus never that I've mentioned before, that the thing these days is like to never say never. Maybe there's things that won't happen. I mean, because I'm too damn smart and too strong for certain things to weaken up on. But having weakness isn't necessarily all terrible either, unless it's not addressed well or so. But anyways, yeah, I guess the thing is, it's sometimes there's capability of things that I guess I never know. I'm certainly capable of great things, and I've always, do that. And I know I'm also capable of misunderstanding still, right? I think that muscle has exercised. I've exercised a lot, pretty much every day. And that's saying that, like, I don't know, oh, I always do that. And when I say, oh, I usually do. And somehow when it comes from someone else's perspective, I just got to realize that, like, oh, you want it to be always, not usual, always, or, but like, it's okay for things to be usual every now and then. Like, I usually do this, but I just didn't today. Okay. Kind of thing. But, yeah, I would say, I guess the thing to keep in mind about, or again, I'm speaking about me, to keep in mind about is to, the things I'm capable of, and even the things that, I don't know, that may not always feel good, like, or so. And sometimes there are those who are in great denial about what they are capable of. Maybe they're not capable of certain things. And I'm talking about, just being like on the destructive level or so, right? That's why art and therapy and music is all important. I mean, what would this world be like without that, right? But I feel somehow to open up and say that, even just to write it down and say it out loud, it's like, you know what? I could be capable of being destructive. I don't know how, but I think I could be. Has anything happened by now? Has anything happened? Maybe not this minute, but will anything happen just by me saying that? But, well, I think that's it for now. Just thought I'd talk about my vivid dreams, and maybe I'll put other titles with this. Yeah, I talked about capabilities and confrontations, etc. But anyways, thought thought I'd let my hair down today and talk of that. All right, take care.